Welcome back, YouTube. Thank you for tuning into this video, and as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, a very different video today and very much not necessarily fitness, physique, bodybuilding related, but as always I'm gonna not try but relate it to fitness and developing your physique. So as you can see, and as some of you may know but some of you may not know also, back in the year of 2019 I actually underwent surgery. Nothing major, of course, more for vanity, but I had a hair transplant. And the purpose behind this was, and just to kind of deep dive into a bit of my, history, and not to get too deep, but I guess in a way, and I can laugh and kind of joke about it now, but during my, I'd say, late teenage years, throughout sixth form and throughout university especially, I was receding. My hair was thinning on the sides, and it was something that was a massive part of my life, which really, really knocked my confidence levels. I was, and still to this day, I'm very much an introverted person. But I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys, as firstly, it tells you a little bit more about myself. But also, I never watched anything like this when I was thinking about having one. And I feel like, it's a very common subject for a lot of males, in their kind of early 20s, maybe even late teens like myself, that, losing your hair, thinning hair, and even baldness is a thing, is a real thing. And, I want to kind of use this channel to open up a little bit more, and hopefully if it helps just one person, or gives people an idea of, I've gone through something similar, it can it can resonate with yourself too. So so just to give you a bit of history, I guess, I've always had thin hair, I'd say. Obviously when I was in high school, everyone always had that kind of, at the time, Justin Bieber flicking of the hair style, which I'll put some pictures up here to kind of show you what it used to be like. And then as I kind of transitioned into my late teens and started kind of sixth form, I didn't start to notice. Other people started to notice and made comments, and I didn't really think much of it at the time. That I was just kind of literally receding, so my hair was kind of going thinner on the sides, and you'd have the odd comment, and I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't really know much about it, to be honest. And again, this is another reason as to why I'm making this video. And that kind of started. The comments got a bit more frequent, but then obviously, as some of you may know, as you kind of go to uni, then that's it. People are ruthless, especially on nights out. My hair, as you can see by this picture here, I tried so many different things that I could do to try and cover up the kind of receding area. And I've got relatively thin hair on top as well, still do now. And I think, for so many years, I didn't actually realise until after I had it done, and even now, like how unconfident I was and very just not proud of my image, and it would really kind of transfer into everyday life, socializing with people, walking to the shops. And I'm sure maybe some of you relating to this video and can resonate to this, like, it was a heavy time, man. Like, I'm not even going to sit here and lie. Like, people and my friends, all have or had, maybe still do now, thick heads of hair. It was never really an issue for them. And I'm not playing the victim and saying this was like a really, really bad thing that was, I couldn't get out of bed because of it. It wasn't like that at all. I had a very happy, late teens uni life, but something that was very much holding me back in a lot of aspects in life. And, obviously the biggest one being social and just self-confidence. So 20, obviously this kind of started 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. And then obviously, I went traveling with two of my best friends in 2019, and I just thought enough is enough. Like, I've read and seen things that you can do to, I tried all things before, like minoxidil. I can't even remember what the brand's called now, but like hair thickening foam I used to put on relentlessly during uni, and nothing was really working. So obviously when I was traveling, I just kind of bit the bullet and thought, when I get back, I'm just gonna get a hair transplant. And also, just to kind of give you a bit of background prior to that, like, I was someone who would literally live in a cap. I still wear a cap now occasionally, But I would literally, if I could, for nights out during uni, I would wear a cap. But obviously, people would probably give you strange looks. You probably wouldn't be allowed into most places wearing a cap. But I would always live in a cap. And, this was just to hide and feel more confident. Once I put that cap on, I felt really, confident again. But as soon as it came off, as I'm sure some of you may know, because it was thin hair as well, if I was walking down the street and if there was a slight gust of wind, my hair would just, it was like, Hannah and I joke about it now that it was like candy floss hair, as you can see by some of these pictures that have been put up on the screen. But jokes aside, like I say, I can laugh about it now. But at the time, it was something that was really, just not good. I felt really low in confidence. I think at the time, going through a breakup like it was a huge thing. It was just like a teenage/uni relationship. It wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't that serious. But at the time, as I'm sure it was quite hard hitting. So confidence was already quite low as it was. Coincide thinning hair and receding hair. It wasn't a good combination, especially at uni when you're just starting and you're trying to make new friends, and you have to put yourself out there a little bit to some extent at uni to kind of make friends, basically. And uni for the 3 years wasn't the most social side of things until maybe the last year, and obviously spent a lot more time with Tom then. But the first 2 years, it was kind of 2 years by myself. I got on with my flatmates, but we didn't really do loads. We kind of all just sat in our rooms and stuff. So, to kind of actually make friends and get out there, you had to put yourself out there a little bit and kind of socialise, being the key word. But yeah, the hair was an issue for me. It was holding me back in a lot of things. And just didn't feel confident at all. So yeah, that's kind of the main topic so far. But yeah, like I say, I'm sure some of you can relate. Again, wearing a cap, as silly as it sounds now, even potential nights out, if I was going for a night out, but I couldn't get my hair quite right after the shower, because it was like a big job trying to get my hair. I used to get mirrors to check what it would look like from the side, from other people's perspective. I would take pictures from different angles. And honestly, I remember at least a couple of times, I just would text my friends and say, "No, I'm not coming out tonight," because I used to get so kind of worked up about it and down about it. And yeah, it's a real challenge at the time. It's something that massively held me back from going out, or just feeling confident in myself. If I would go out, if it was a last minute thing, I was I'll just put a cap on if it was in the day and just kind of cover up. And I remember a few times when I used to work at a kind of what's called the Crocky Trail. If you're from the northwest, it's like a kids outdoor play area, I guess, kind of man-made stuff, all rides and slides and stuff. And I used to be the maintenance guy there, and I would literally just wear a cap all day, every single day for the 4 or 5 months that I was there. And I remember one time, it was a group of lads and girls that kind of worked there, all similar age, and some lad kind of grabbed, as a joke, took my cap off me, and I was like, fuck. There was a lot of people there watching as well. And I could just see, and probably people wouldn't even think of it in your own head, as you know. I just thought people were oh, that's why he's been wearing a cap for so long. And it was heart shattering. I was like, fuck, my heart was racing. I was chasing after him, give it back. Yeah, obviously that sounds quite like I was being bullied. It wasn't like that. We were friends anyway, but it was just something at the time where I thought, shit, this isn't good, man. I'm that kind of protective of my head, my hair. I have to kind of wear this cap as a protector of confidence. It's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, looking back, that's just to name a handful. It was a daily thing. There was so many kind of things that happened, and like I say, cancelling on nights out, not going out because I couldn't get my hair right, wearing a cap 95% of the time. Even if I remember very specifically as well, my flatmates, we weren't close, but if I was to leave my room and go to the kitchen and my hair was just, it was never, you can never maintain it. It would always look different, if that makes sense. So even just going downstairs to the communal kitchen, I would put a cap on with my flatmates. That's how bad it was. And yeah, so after traveling, I thought, you know what, I'm going to get this sorted. I can't live my life like this. I knew at the time, even at a younger age, that this is going to hold me back at some point in my life, and I really don't want that. So fast forward to 2019, after a few kind of conversations with my mum at the time, and just kind of thought, I want to sort this, and I knew they weren't cheap. And Turkey wasn't really. I think there was a few people, or not. I didn't really know anyone that went. I obviously kind of watched YouTubes and listened to, well, read articles, I should say, on the very small amount of information that was out there. Because obviously 2019, it wasn't really like a big thing. I feel like a lot of people get them done nowadays. So yeah, obviously speaking back and forth with my mum, obviously I knew it was a very hefty financial cost if I were to do it in the UK, but we kind of decided that if you get it done in Turkey and something went wrong or anything, you kind of swelled up on the flight home, and it just wasn't selling it to me to get it done in Turkey. Yes, I might have saved £3,000-4,000 or whatever it might have been, but just for the security insurance of it being in the UK, knowing that it was relatively local, I thought I'm just going to bite the bullet. Like it's not like a cheap investment. I want to make sure it's the same as let's try and relate it to coaching for a second. If you to sign up to a coach and it was £20 per month, you're probably not going to get the best service. Let's be honest. So I knew, obviously the price you pay will dictate the kind of quality, and just having it in the UK was the selling point for me really more than anything. So yeah, decided to get it done in a place in Skipton, kind of Yorkshire way, called Javida Hair Clinics, and did a bit of research and had a consultation, this, that, and the other. Went in, they kind of felt your head and drew lines on your scalp and your forehead and where you were kind of receding and what the kind of line would look like in terms of your hairline. So yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm going to be completely upfront. It wasn't cheap. I think it was about £5,500. Okay, and I was fortunate enough that my late grandmother, after she passed, after selling her house, she did leave me some money, and I think maybe a few people would be like, "I can't believe you spent the money that your grandma left you on your fucking hairline." But in the same light, I was like, you know what? If she knew that it would have made me happier and more confident, and would have, potentially got me to where I am today because of it, I think she would say that was money well spent personally, and I still stand by that to this day. And I know it was money well spent. So I didn't really feel too. I think most people, when they get left money maybe in a will, it's like, you should invest in it, put it towards your house, blah, blah, blah. But this was, a very big thing for me at the time. And it was the only money that I had really as a student, I guess. So yeah, I put that money towards that, and I thought, you know what, this will benefit me a lot. So yeah, 2019, Skipton, Javida, had it at the consultation. And yeah, it was a very scary process because I saw kind of pictures online and stuff of how it would look. And if you are, I guess you've already clicked on the thumbnail to be fair, so you've probably seen it, but if you are quite garish is the word, I think, of kind of blood or just pretty nasty looking pictures, then please do look away now and resume in maybe about 30 seconds. But essentially this was the procedure. Like, they put you on it's like a surgical bed, I guess, so to speak. And in terms of the process of the procedure, they essentially extract hair follicles from the back of your scalp, like, because this is where obviously hair follicles are quite dominant. Even in fully bald men, you'll always have kind of hair follicles on the back of the head. So they extract them from there, and essentially obviously they draw the line on where the new kind of hair follicle is going to be implanted. So obviously on the side of both of my crown, I guess. And they essentially take them out the back, put them into like this little petri dish, so to speak, and simply make incisions on the front of where you want the new hair to go, and simply just plant them in. Like, it is crazy and very impressive, to be fair, as well. But it was a long day. I think I was on the bed for about 9 hours, and obviously just lying there. Obviously probably more boring for them, but obviously they're getting paid a good amount of money for it. It's a long day. Obviously you had Netflix and stuff, but obviously when you're facing the floor when they're taking them from the back, that's quite a long procedure as well. So yeah, here's some pictures. This is the kind of start process, taking them out the back, putting them into the front. As you can see, nice little gown, nice little cap. It was nice. It was nice. I wouldn't say it was nice, but in regards to how they treated you, it was very much like a spa treatment. It was just you in there. You weren't like waiting in line like in a hospital. Like, next, it was just me in there for the whole day. They got you food, and obviously, as you can see here, I got this screenshot from Snapchat. Chicken. McDonald's was right next to it, so I was still pretty into my fitness back then, not very much so, but obviously, as you can see, chicken salad from McDonald's. funny. But yeah, this is like the after pictures, which is a little bit more, yeah, look away now again if you aren't too brave, or if you aren't feeling too brave today. But yeah, as you can see, like pretty nasty. Like, and obviously from this last picture as well, you can see that my head massively swelled up, and there was a running joke in my household that I look like Professor Quirrell from the first Harry Potter, as you can see by the comparison here. But yeah, just to give you a bit of an insight as to how and again, some people will look at this now and think, you didn't even need it, mate. Like, why did you get that done? But as you know, when you've got something like an insecurity, other people always tell you, oh, you know, you're fine, you're perfect, you don't need to change the way that you are. But when you've got something like that yourself, you know that whatever anyone tells you is never going to change your mind. Once you've got that kind of seed planted in your head, there's no turning back. You know, nothing can change it. Okay, so these were some pictures prior. As you can see, like I'm sure a lot of people, and even looking back now, like it wasn't as drastic as I was probably making out. This side shot here, you know, that's where it was slightly worse on this side. You can see thin on top, and just, you know, it was starting to go back. And my concern was that I was only going to get older, of course. So it was only going to get worse. So this was my main kind of driver, really, that it was just going to get worse. And, you know, I already felt pretty low at this point. So it's almost like, why would I want to feel even worse in a few years' time? So yeah, in a nutshell, I bit the bullet and I got it done. Like I say, it wasn't cheap. And, you know, it was in terms of like healing, it was the first, I think, week or 2 weeks that I'd ever had off the gym fully, because like you weren't allowed to kind of sweat basically, in case like sweat got into the cuts and kind of just basically messed it all up, which is the last thing that I wanted after spending that much money. So yeah, 2 weeks off the gym, couldn't work, had to sleep like with a neck kind of pillow upright for the first kind of 3 days. You had like a full kind of itinerary of what you could do. You couldn't wash it for a certain amount of days, then you could only use water, then you could only use like 0% soap stuff. It was a long process. But yeah, obviously here we are today, and as you can see, like even now today, I still am aware that my hair's a little bit thin on top, and even, you know, it's still thin. It's not like I've magically thickened up and I got this luscious amount of locks. You know, it's still something that it doesn't nowhere near, don't get me wrong, bother me as much as it used to, but it's, you know, it's still not a, what would you say, GQ front cover or Men's Health front cover set of locks, but it's much better. And as you can see from the actual hairline now, it is much more predominant. I still use kind of products. I use minoxidil, which is like a spray that I almost use for like a hair product as well in the morning, which is meant to prevent further hair loss and thicken the hair that you've got. Whether it does anything or whether it's just placebo, who knows, but I still use that. I should probably maybe cycle that a little bit more than I do, but I've been using that since 2019, so maybe I should come off for a little bit. I think you are meant to give yourself a bit of a break every now and then. But yeah, definitely a lot more confident. You know, I'm sat here doing a 20-minute YouTube video talking about it, so obviously the confidence is definitely there. And if some of you followed me, hopefully you can see that I'm not really too phased about my hair as much anymore. Again, like I say, there's still, I would love it to be thicker on top. I would love it to, I don't know, many things, but again, you can never have perfection. I guess you're never always going to be fully happy, but compared to where I was, night and day difference in terms of my self-confidence, how I, you know, view myself internally, how I speak to other people, how I interact, how I am with my clients, my business, like everything. It's just been massively leveled up, and I do believe that a big part of it has come from this, and this is why I'm sharing this story with you today, because it was and has been a huge part of my life. And I feel like if someone, you know, like I say, just one person can see this and maybe take away something from it. And again, I know that this was almost like, you know, you can't buy, and this is how I'm going to relate it to fitness. Here we go. You can't buy a physique that you want, you know, a world-class physique that you're striving towards. You do, unfortunately or fortunately, have to work towards that, but in a way that's more rewarding. You know, with this, I could just pay the sum of money straight away. Within, you know, let's say 2 days it was done, 6 months it was healed, 12 months it was, you know, where I wanted it to be. Okay, that's obviously the benefit of things like this. You can pay and get almost like an instant return from it. Whereas with like a physique, you do have to put the work in. But how these both are similar is that hair transplant gave me a stupid amount of confidence. And now, you know, being in the best shape of my life has given me a stupid amount of confidence. Stupid amount, that sounds a bit cocky and arrogant. A good amount of confidence. But this is where I always say on onboarding videos, after photo shoots, like it's not just the physical transformation that people get from coaching or doing a physique development journey, you do genuinely bring this whole new aura about you, and that transitions into jobs, into relationships, into how you speak to yourself, how you kind of are with everything that you do in life, and that's what a physique that you are proud of and have worked towards can bring you. And like I say, it semi-relates because this is what the hair transplant brought for me in a way. I was just obviously a little bit more fortunate that I didn't have to do like a 12-week graft or a 16-week or a 20-week kind of hair transplant journey for it. It was very much in 8 hours on the chair, 9 hours on the chair, out, bit of a lengthy procedure after it. Obviously it wasn't there straight away, you had to wait for the new hair to grow through, etc. And they actually fall out as well. So they obviously the new hair follicles that come through, they push the old ones out and they fall out. So then you've got these kind of two massive bald lines for, I don't know, I can't quite remember now, but maybe like 2 months. So again, I lived in a cap for the first 2 months, but then when it started to grow through, as you can see by this last picture here, it got better. And like I say, I'll put some more recent pictures up, but the last thing and I forgot to mention this actually, as you can see, I always used to wear a cap on nights out. But the saddest thing was, and it's funny that I'm sharing this now because I never would have shared this, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whenever it was, 2019, what are we, 6 years ago. But how sad was this? And I actually feel sorry for my old self. On these pictures here, the one with my mum and one with Alice, my friend, I used to edit on this like little app you used to get on your iPhone, my like hairline on pictures when I didn't have a cap on a night out. And this was just like an extra task in itself. But you can maybe tell if you zoom in closely, like it was just like a very straight hairline. And I'm sure at the time I thought no one's going to notice this. But I thought, now I'm thinking surely people would have been like, mate, your hair doesn't look like that in person. Where's this hairline come from? And maybe if any of my friends are watching this and never clocked that, please let me know, because that would be hilarious. But that's just pretty sad, isn't it? Like, not sad as in you're pathetic by doing it, but like upsetting. Poor guy having to edit his hair on pictures. I think one time, like if you over edited it, your eye would be like this if you kind of drew too much on the hairline. But yeah, that is my story on my hair transplant. And what I would like you to take away from this is, if you are feeling, unconfident or not satisfied or not fulfilled with where you are currently at within your physique, within your life, within your relationship, within your business, I say a big part of it comes from working on yourself. And again, I know this is a bit kind of backhanded because I just paid for a hair transplant, but I, actively did something about the thing that I was unhappy about, if that makes sense. And for that, I'm glad I made that decision 7 years ago, because now I'm more confident. I've got a very fortunate business that I love to do day in, day out. Got a loving girlfriend, again, not to get too cringy on this, and I feel the best that I've ever felt. Okay, and the big part of it was taking that first step on committing to doing something that I knew would benefit myself in the future. And I think this is where a lot of people miss out on when it comes to their health, their fitness and their physique. The first step that you need to take in any area in life if you want to feel better or perform better or just have better in general is yourself. You have to work on yourself. Okay, so yeah, slightly different video. Hopefully 23 minutes isn't too long for you, but I thought it'd be a bit of an insight as to me as an individual and why I made that kind of decision 6-7 years ago, and hopefully someone can take something from it. If anyone has any questions on it or anyone's thinking of doing something similar, please do let me know, because I would be more than happy to help. I wish I had people that I could ask 7 years ago, how was it, did it hurt, how long did it take, blah blah blah, but I didn't. I kind of just did my own research and went with it. So if anyone's on the fence about doing something like this, it doesn't have to be hair of course, but that's probably where I can help more, then please do let me know, because like I say, if this has helped just open up the eyes of one individual or made someone realise I could probably benefit from something like this, then do let me know. If it's not hair related and it's physique, then head to the bio description below, click the link, and we can have a chat on how I can help you become the most confident, best version of yourself. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.